Hey, what is going on, everybody? And in today's video I want to talk about the upcoming Moondragon event, but specifically in relation to the Quirky tag and what to kind of expect for this and what I recommend that you do. Now obviously we have the Gamma raid upon us, and this presents a whole slew of problems in relation to using certain characters due to the even more limited trait requirements here. But I do want to give my general tips for this portion of the event, which is the alliance-based raid milestone. Some character recommendations depending on which raids you're running, and if you are an alliance that runs Doom raid at 30%, this is going to be a challenging balance for you all. And I will provide some suggestions for this. Without further ado, buckle up, and let's get this show started. Alright, so before we get started, we're actually going to be checking out the Milestone, which did show up at the store reset on Wednesday here, and that's actually when I'm recording this video here. But what's interesting is if you preview it, it'll give us at least the 2 milestones. So you can't actually see the strength and numbers milestone. This is the Blitz and Arena milestone that you use for using the Quirky trait characters because it is a daily milestone, and that's why it doesn't show up early. But the Marvelous Allies milestone, which is the Raid Alliance milestone, and the Barrier Breaker milestone, which is opening the Unity Orbs, those are available to us, and I do want to check that out before we jump into the math and talk about the Quirky trait characters here. So we can see that was kind of bugged there on the high roller, but the Marvelous Allies, so this has actually been improved upon since the Moon Knight version of this, and what's actually improved is the participation points, so how you earn the points. So win or lose raid battle with a Quirky trait character, that is 9. Previously for Moon Knight it was 7, and this part here, win or lose a raid battle, that's 3. It was previously 2. So that might not seem like a lot, but when we get into the math section, you'll see how that actually bumps up how many days you need to spend on this by a fair portion, actually. So let's take a look at the milestone, and not much has changed. The only thing different between this one and the Moon Knight milestone is actually there's a total of 15 Moondragon shards rather than Moon Knight. 15 Moondragon shards instead of 12. That's what I meant to say. There's 15 origin gear pieces as well, and there's 10 gold promo credits. That's new as well. We didn't have the gold promo credits before, but in terms of the total fragments for the Unity Orb, that is going to be 5 orbs for the entirety of the raid milestone. That hasn't changed since Moon Knight, so the Moon Knight version of the orb, but that's been the same. So let's take a look quickly at the Barrier Breaker one. This is the Orb Opening one. The points have changed from 600, which it was previously for the Moon Knight Orb, to 647, but the total amount of points has also gone down, so I think it's pretty much the same according to my math, but I'm not, I should know, is there a significance to 647? I don't know why I don't know this, but I have no idea what it is. Let me know in the comments down below if you think you know. But in terms of the overall rewards, it actually seems like the amount of Moondragon shards have gone up than what it was for Moon Knight. There is no Elite 5 orb, though, in this. There's a bunch of orange stuff, orange origin gear pieces, and some G14 and 15 minis. This seems pretty similar to what it was for the Moon Knight event. Nothing's really changed, but I think some people were thinking that there was going to be an Elite 5 orb. But there isn't, so it's actually pretty plain. It's just kind of what we would normally come to expect to be in these sort of milestones, so nothing super exciting here. But let's talk about the Quirky trait characters. So let me filter my roster here by Quirky really quick. And so what characters would you be wanting to use for raiding? And this is going to depend on, obviously, if you're doing Ultimates or if you're doing Doom Raid. Now, if you're doing Ultimates, at least you have the Astonishing X-Men available for the most part. You have Iceman Jubilee and Kitty Pryde down here. And you do have Yo-Yo if you need to, if you're still using her. Otherwise, it's actually pretty grim. We have Gamora, Moondragon, and Phyla-Vell as part of Infinity Watch, but overall, the amount of characters, if you notice, the ones I have powered up, not many of them are really that good or really good for raiding. So, let me know in the comments down below who you plan to use. Personally, I will probably use, the 3 Astonishing X-Men and Gamora and Moondragon. That's probably what I'm going to end up doing. But of course, using Moondragon is like using her for her own event, so if you don't have her, you'll have to make another option for that instead. But yeah, it's not looking good. If you look at all the characters, it's not super stellar for the choices. The only real healer outside of Moondragon is Mantis, and we all know how that goes. She is not very good. So in terms of investment on other characters, I can't really suggest too many outside of Astonishing X-Man, the Infinity Watch characters, and Yo-Yo. Otherwise, just try and fill the blanks where you can in order to get some extra characters to use in. But when we look at the math, we're going to be talking about two different scenarios, whether you're in the Ultimus crowd or you're in the Doom Raid crowd, and what I sort of recommend in order to get that done. Luckily, they've been a little bit generous on that milestone front, so let's take a look at the spreadsheet so we can see what's going on. Alright, so before we get started here on the math, there's a few things that needs to be said. One is that we don't actually have the strength in numbers milestone live for us to double check, because that is the daily milestone with relations to Blitz and Arena. So these numbers are actually taken from the Moon Knight event. What that means is that I think that largely the numbers are going to be the same. It's very unlikely that it would get worse than this. There is a possibility it could actually get better than this, because the Raid Alliance milestone actually is slightly better than the milestone was for the Moon Knight event. So basically what I'm saying is take all of this that I'm saying for this milestone in particular, and it could be this or it could be better. I highly doubt it's going to get worse because they've used the same numbers for Red Guardian and Moon Knight, and people would just be raging, and maybe that's typical Boundless, but I just don't see that happening. But anyways, we're going to carry on with this one. So this is the Blitz and Arena daily milestone, which is likely to last 10 days. So these events for Moon Knight and Red Guardian and Anti-Venom were 10 days, so I suspect that this one to be 10 days as well. And basically this just comes down to doing blitz rotations with your quirky characters. You can either do it one of two ways. My table here has actually suggested if you just use quirky characters and not any of your other characters. The reason why I say that is because there isn't very many good blitzes coming up. We have a Mystique blitz for Thursday for the start of the event, and then we have, I believe, actually I don't know what the Monday is, but I know that we're getting an Iceman blitz, which is okay, but I think at that point we'll be winding down for this event anyways. And it also depends on how many quirky characters you have. So if you're an early game player, you're probably going to be in this 10 quirky column. If you are a mid game, probably 20, and then obviously you'll have all of them. There's a total of 33 if you are a late game player. So basically this comes down to what's in the yellow and what's in the green. So the points required to clear this, you can see this kind of behind my chair here lower, is 1600 at the time. You do get some points from Arena, but it's very minor. So we'll go over that really quickly here with the Arena points actually. So basically if you were to sacrifice all of your Arena battles with 5 quirky characters, you're not going to win an Arena battle, let's be honest. You would get 190 points, which is just over 10% of the points required. But to make up for the rest of it, you're basically going to be doing blitz rotations. So to be in a good position, you're probably going to want to be in this yellow period here, because this means if you're just using your quirky characters. Now, you do get 4 points here just for winning a sim blitz. That's for any sim blitz at all. So if you're someone who just does your rotation of, I don't know, 20 teams, 30 teams, whatever, you're going to get way more than what's suggested here in the table. This is just for if you're using just the quirky characters. So you can see that you get 4 points for a sim blitz, 8 if it's a quirky character, which means 44 altogether per 5-man quirky blitz win. Now there is different points if you do manual blitzing, but I am not doing that in the table here just because from 60 onwards, level 60 onwards, you are going to have access to sim blitz, and that's just what I'm assuming most people are going to do. It's very unlikely that people manual blitz these days just because it takes so much time. So really, you want to be in these categories here. If you have 10 quirky characters and that's all you have, chances are you're probably not going to finish this daily milestone, unfortunately, when it does come around. And for the 20 and 30, this is what you're going to need to do. Roughly, if you have all of the characters unlocked, try to get anywhere from 4 to 6 rotations in daily, and you should be fine. That's basically the TLDR, 4 to 6 rotations if you have all the characters. If you have most of them, then you're probably looking at anywhere from 6 to 8 rotations in order to clear the daily milestone. So that's just the strength in numbers daily blitz. If things change, I will make a post in the comments down below, and I will update that if need be. But what we need to talk about here is the Marvelous Allies. This is the Raid, let me fix this. This is the Raid Alliance milestone. So again, we're going to assume that the total duration of the event is 10 days. We do actually have the points for this because we can see this in the milestone that we checked out beforehand. And so basically you're going to win or lose with a quirky character. You get 9 points, 3 just for any raid battle, So really that means combined with a full raid team of Quirky characters, you're going to get 48 points. Now, I have two different scenarios here. One is if you're running I say Ultimate 6. What I really meant to say was Ultimate 6/7, and then you can do Greek 3, whatever, your regular kind of rating, right? So you can do things either two ways. You can either just play with Ultimates where you have all the characters available to you, and then just do it normally for Greek 3 and 4, or I have Scenario 2, which we'll get to after, is for those alliances who are in Doom Raid and what they should be doing in order to maximize your points here. So let's assume that you're just doing Ultimates 6 or 7 or whatever. You have access to all the characters here, and that you're going to be using 5 Quirky characters to get it through. You could be dropping down to lower difficulties in order to make it work, but at the end of the day, you're going to be using 5 Quirky characters. If you do 10 raid attacks in Ultimates, you're going to get 480 points. So that's this 48 here. Times by 10, you get 480. Now, with Greek raids, with Gamma right now, is a load of trash, and if you're running 3 or 4, that means you're running it restricted, and there isn't a whole lot of wiggle room with characters you can do. But let's just say that, you know, for sake of argument, that you can run 2 Quirky characters. I think depending on the lane, this might be viable. On the sides with the Spider-Verse, and down the center, I think with the Defender characters, this might be possible, I think, here. So let's just say this is what's happening, and if you do 10 of those attacks, then you're going to get 210 points. So your total daily points solo is going to be that 210 plus the 480, that's 690. Now, in terms of if you multiply this by 24, how much points is your entire alliance going to give you? Well, that's 16,560, assuming everyone's doing the same thing, doing 10 raid attacks, and you have 24 people. Now, the total number of points needed for this milestone is 75,500. Which means if you divide this by the 16,560, you get a whopping total days required 4.56, which is very encouraging. This is the total days required based on the above math, 4.56 days. So if the event actually lasts for 10 days, then you'll actually clear it pretty quick. So what this really means, though, is that there is a lot of wiggle room here in terms of, you know, using Quirky characters or not using Quirky characters or using not enough. You know, if you're only using 3, you know, for example, from the Astonishing X-Men, if you just decide to use Astonishing X-Men, which is 3 Quirky characters and 2 non-Quirky characters, you'll probably be able to do that if you do that over the course of the event. You should be able to do that no problem. So there is wiggle space here. And of course, with the Gamma, which is a load of crap, and I hate Gamma, you know, you may or may not get in 2 Quirky characters per attack anyways. So that is pretty encouraging here. And this won't change. Scenario 2 is something we want to talk about, though. This is for the alliances who are doing... I don't know why that actually changed. That should be the same points. There we go. I don't know why it's... Is that because there's not enough space? There we go. Okay, I didn't know why it was having the number thing there. This is if you're going to be doing Doom Raid. Now, this is what I call the Doom Raid, Scenario 2, Doom Raid, and Gamma 2 version. So my recommendations for alliances who are in Doom Raid to be doing Gamma 2. Why do Gamma 2? That's because it's unrestricted. So if you don't want to compromise on your Doom Raid rewards, then I recommend you doing this. And that's what I plan to do for my alliance. We're going to be doing Doom Raid as normal. You know, we'll get whatever points we're going to get, and then for the Greek raid, we'll be using all 5 of our Quirky characters for Gamma 2, and then we'll be collecting it that way. So if you look at the same points, it's pretty much the same here, but what's important here is 10 Doom Raid attacks. So basically, you're just going to get that 3 win-loser raid battle, times it by 10. Even if you're not doing 10 attacks in Doom Raid, if you're not an alliance that, I don't know, does 60%, you know, we're only doing like 35 to 40, you know, just do a suicide attack if you can, you know, even then, for extra if you can't do any more, and you'll still get some points anyways. I don't know how likely people are to do this, but, you know, you will collect a little bit extra points. So you'll get 30 points out of that, but what's really important here is the Greek raid attacks, and so if you use 5 Quirky characters, just like up here, win raid full Quirky team, you're gonna get 48 points, and so if you're doing this 10 attacks for Gamma 2, you're gonna get 480 points. You add that 480 plus the 30, you get 510, and again, multiplying that by 24, which assuming you have that many players in your alliance, you're getting 12,240. Now, taking the total points, dividing it by that 12,240, and you get 6.17 days, which is actually pretty encouraging. So again, you know, if the event lasts for 10 days, realistically, that means there's still wiggle room. You know, you could... maybe do, well, you should stick with Gamma 2, but the point is that, you know, as long as you're doing your Quirky trade characters at least on one raid that's entirely unrestricted, Gamma 2, or in the case of Scenario 1, it's Ultimate 6 or 7, then you should have no problems clearing this as long as everyone is contributing. And I think that's kind of the important factor here, is that everyone in the alliance is trying to get their raid attacks in to help contribute for this alliance. It is an alliance-based milestone. please encourage your alliance to do that. So we're going to talk about on the third milestone, which is the barrier breaking milestone. And actually, before we do, just to go over the rewards in case people forgot, 10,000 Unity Orb Fragments is cut off slightly due to my frame. My apologies, kind of zoom in a little bit, makes it helps it a little bit. So that's 5 orbs total, 6,000 gear credits, 45 ABCs, 75 SBCs, 15 purple stat catalysts, 15 orange origin pieces, 145 purple training material, and 10 gold promo credits. This is new, and 15 Moondragon shards. This is up from 12, I think, which was from the Moon Knight event. So it's a little bit better than the Moon Knight event in terms of what you get, and especially the gold promo credits, which is new. But let's talk about the barrier breaker milestone. This is the orb opening milestone. We went over the rewards in it a little bit. It's okay, but basically they changed things up a little bit. So when you open one Unity orb, you're getting 647 points. The orbs from the raid milestone, you get 5 of that. So we're going to assume that you complete the raid milestone and you're getting 5 of this. Now, points from the raid milestone is just 5 times 6, 47, and that gets you 32, 35. Now, orbs from daily milestone. This is from the daily Blitz and Arena milestone, the strength and numbers that we took a look at here. So basically, I am assuming that it's going to be the same as the Moon Knight event, and that gave you a total of 6.75 orbs. This is because you got 1,350 fragments by completing the daily milestone, and there was 10 days of that. Multiply 1,350 by 10, divide it by 2,000, because 2,000 fragments in an orb gets you this number here of 6.75 orbs. So that's going to be contributing towards the total points needed for the orb opening milestone. So the points from the daily milestone orbs is that. So 6.75 times 647 gets you 4367. The numbers here really aren't super important, but I just want to show my math just so people are aware. Now, you do get orbs from the Blitz milestone rewards. People might have forgot about that, but on the Thursday, the Monday, and the other Thursday milestone, so there's 3 Blitz milestones, you'll be getting 2 orbs per 750k milestone. So that's a fair bit extra. So that's 6, again, times 647 points. You're getting 3,882 points for that. And then we're going to add this all up together. So basically, your total points needed, 41,000. Now, if you subtract this from the orbs that you get from the raid milestone, it gets you to this number here. I'm not going to say the whole number. And then if you take that and you reduce it even further from the daily milestones and the Blitz milestone orbs, it brings you to this. So this number, 29,516, that's what you need solely from blitzing, which you get Unity Orb Fragments. Now, you guys might have forgotten, but for events like this, when you do just raw Blitz wins, you do get Orb Fragments from this. So basically, left over, the total orbs that we need to farm through Blitz, 45.6 orbs. Alright, so let's get started on what that means for Unity Orb Fragments from Blitzes. Okay, so if you guys remember that when you do a Blitz win, you get anywhere from 50 fragments, 100 fragments, 200, 350, 750, and 2,000, something like that. But then I'm gonna assume that the average is 75. That's somewhere between the 50 win, the 50 fragments, and the 100 fragments. That's the most common outcome for these kinds of things. Which means basically that in order to get one full orb, you're gonna need to do 26.67, which isn't not a round number, but we can make that for so almost to 27 Blitz wins essentially that you need to do in order to get a full Unity Orb. So what does that mean then? So in order to farm 46 Unity Orbs, which is what we need to clear the rest of this orb opening milestone, we need to get 1,217 Blitz wins over the course of the event. Now, I do want to say one thing really quickly here, and people are probably have already thought about this before they got here, was that there is going to be Unity Orb Fragments through the ISO 8 campaign. Now, that was mentioned in the intro to the event. What I don't know is how long that's going to be lasting, if that's for the whole duration of this event that we're going to be getting Unity Orb Fragments from that. If so, then basically take all the numbers I have here, and it's going to be even better than this. So these are the worst case scenario farming, because I don't know. And I'm doing this ahead of time. Maybe I should have waited. I know people are going to get on me for that. But I wanted to get this information out to you guys before the event starts, so you kind of have an idea in your head as to sort of what to expect. So take all of these numbers and assume it's going to be a little bit better than this, because you are going to get Unity Orb Fragments from the ISO 8 campaign. I just don't know if it's going to be active for the entire 10 days of the event, or the duration of the event, or if it's only going to be like 1 or 2 days of the event. They weren't really clear about that as far as I'm aware. So, getting back to the Blitz math here, essentially not including the ISO 8 campaign extra orb fragments, you will need to do about 6 blitz rotations. That's 100, or maybe less, sorry. 122 blitz wins needed per day. I was thinking 20 wins per rotation. But if you're doing about 30 wins per rotation, then that's about just over 4 blitz rotations a day in order to accumulate enough Unity Orb fragments in order to reach the milestone. Now, of course, this is the worst case scenario. So including the ISO 8 campaign is probably going to be less than this. I just don't know how much less than this. So that's the maximum that you're going to need to do. Now, of course, you know, because you can do 8 rotations, currently if you have about roughly 30 teams times 8 rotations, you know, that's about 240 wins. This is the maximum that you could do roughly a day without spending blitz charges. So days needed solely on maximum. This is based on the 240 blitz batches, that you could do this in like 5 or 6 days, depending on how many blitz rotations you did. So that's good news. And what do you get by the end of this, doing all of this blitzing, the end of the milestone? We saw it, we kind of went through the milestone a little bit. You get 65 Moondragon shards, which actually isn't bad. 9 G15 minis for all of the pieces. 15, 15, 10 of the G14 minis, because there's 3 different minis rather than the G15s only have 2. 155 Superior Basic Callus, and 60 Orange Stack Callus for all. Unfortunately, we are not getting, and there's some other stuff, there's some purple stuff. I didn't add that up, sorry guys. And unfortunately, we aren't getting a Elite 5 orb. Some people were saying that maybe we should have because of previous events we did. I don't quite remember. Maybe it doesn't matter. We're not getting it. But yeah, so it's not too bad. I think that as long as you do regular blitz rotations, you know, try to get in at least 4 blitz rotations in a day, then I think you shouldn't have any problems finishing this event. Of course, this is the worst case scenario farming, because we don't have all of the information to us. And like I said, for the strength in numbers milestone, this daily milestone, if it changes dramatically when the event goes live, I will post in a comment down below in the video section about this update, and the spreadsheet will be updated as well. And you can find all of this in the description below if you're curious and you want to look at it your own time. I will make this available for you guys to check out. So that's going to be the end of this video here, guys. I hope this was helpful, and I hope you guys get Moondragon, get as many shards as you can, open those Unity orbs, have some good luck, and everyone gets Moondragon up as high as they possibly can for the goals that they have for this team, which is really, really important. So that's the end. Thanks for watching, guys, and if you found this helpful, please hit that subscribe button and hit that like button, everything else on YouTube. And until next time, stay safe, and I'll see y'all later. Boylan signing out.